I'm Wardrox. I'm the editor-in-chief of a website called negativegamer.com. That's the URL. And this is a video where I'm going to hopefully explain my opinion as to why the rampant use of anonymous sources in video games is a bad thing. Also, this is what I look like if you're tiny. Hey down there. Here is a short film showing how anonymous sourcing works. As a games journalist, you travel around quite a lot and you meet a lot of people. You gain quite a lot of friends. Some are other media people like yourself, and some are game developers. Sometimes, one of the journalist's friends who works at a game company, seen here wearing sunglasses, might find out some information. This information might be quite interesting, and they might want to share it with said journalist. The journalist will almost certainly want to print this story. However, the guy who is providing the information, the source as it's known, probably doesn't want his name associated with all this news coming out for, some reason or other, so kindly asks that the journalist not report his name. The journalist, as they're all friends here, and, they're trusted, agrees. The news is published. Anonymous sources create three problems in the world of journalism. 1, lack of credibility. 2, the source may be lying or not know the whole truth. And 3, you can't go back on your promise of anonymity. And what this means, at least in my mind, is that the news that's based on anonymous sources isn't really news because it lacks the credibility to be solid, hard evidence and whatnot. So it's more speculation and rumour. Excuse me one moment, the kettle's boiling. Now, to take an example of the kind of problems that happen, let's take a look at the recent Activision Infinity Ward drama that sort of happened, which I won't go into here. Now, a website called Binge Gamer, fairly small blog, respected, I kind of like those guys. They got an anonymous source to basically tell them that Infinity Ward hadn't been paid royalties from Activision. Now, the stories of Activision and Infinity Ward's falling out got mingled in with that, and it was only a day later that lots of analysts sort of came out and said, no, they're kind of unrelated. They probably wouldn't have got their royalties yet. Now, the anonymous source, who was at the centre of who caused this, probably told the truth. But it was when it was stepped out and the anonymous source had no name, nobody could verify this, and so the first person to say, oh hey, there's all this drama, oh hey, the anonymous source said they hadn't been paid, oh, these two things must be connected, and boom, off it goes. And because the source was anonymous, none of it can be verified, and it just sails off merrily into the blogosphere to be reported on as fact. So why is this actually a problem? Like, what's wrong with a bit of the old speculation going on? And I mean, it's fine to have the rumours and the speculation, it's part of the fun of video games, but it also kind of, like, video game journalists we're always trying, personally I think it's a subconscious thing to please our parents, but we're always trying to prove that what we do for a living is valuable. And when we are all claiming to be journalists, and blah blah, that's a whole other topic, but when people claim to be journalists but then don't follow standard journalistic practices or don't do the quality of journalism that would normally be expected, then it just sort of reflects poorly on everything and all of us. And I think the solution is fairly simple, and that's that the big guys, which is, well, you know who the big blogs are. They always like to think that they have all this power or whatever, and use it. Like, for example, G4 broke the news after Patrick there got a tip saying that bouncer types had turned up at Infinity Ward, and everyone was all like, oh, and all this drama happened. And then so many sites got all these sources that are completely unnamed. Now, one of the problems with if it's named, if you're not putting a name to it, is that the source will be very comfortable to embellish things. Like these bouncer types, was it a truckload of people in riot gear? Was it one little guy with a clipboard? Because no one put a name to it, we have no idea. The most common theme I found is that they were basically big burly guys who were just walking around the office, and it's like, well, what? Who said that? Nobody really said it, just, a source close to Infinity Ward. And so it kind of enters this really muddy area. And that kind of sucks to me. But the big guys, going back to my actual point, the big guys have the power to say, well, why can't I put your name next to this? Like, if I worked at Infinity Ward, and I was, say, an intern or whatever, and some big bouncers came in, and there was a bit of a, ooh, what's going on here? Like, if I was telling the truth to a journalist, why wouldn't they be able to report my name? Because you wouldn't get into trouble if you were just saying these big bouncer types were walking around the office. It was a bit, ooh, what's going on here? That wouldn't make me get fired or anything. I'm just saying what is the truth happening. So the big sites they also have a lot more contacts. Like, I couldn't contact someone at Infinity Ward, but lots of other people can. And it's up to them to get someone to go on the record and say, this is happening, this is happening. That's called journalism. Which brings me back to my too long didn't watch part of the show, which is basically better journalism, please. Don't base entire articles on what somebody who doesn't want to be named said. Maybe add a bit of that in, but don't do the whole article on that. That's a rumour. You can't... No, that's silly. Go away.